There's a beautiful view of the Danube early in the morning. It's a charming village of Ilok. We're pulling in here to this pier.
We call our country Hrvatska.
Ottomans were here for a century and a half, and this is a Turkish bath. Private home till the end of World War II, 1945. Yugoslavia being a communist country, they took it over and turned it into a museum. It still is a museum. Yeah, I learned something new. The small door is for people, and the doors are so big so they can open the top for carriages to get in.
You see, ladies and gentlemen, in the 1st century and in the part of the 2nd century, Romans came here and they occupied this part of the world. And we have lots of proofs. Even courtyard of the museum is archaeological site. We have Yugoslavia literally means South Slavia, because Slavic word for south is Jug, and Slavia that signalize that we are Slavs, Slavic tribe. Because of this guy.
1526.
This is not so good picture of Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent, who was one of the biggest sultans ever. And he led his soldiers here. And they destroyed completely the joint Croatian and Hungarian army. But only under one
The
condition.
Habsburgs.
If you choose us to be your rulers. Not because they were like Americans. No, they had their own interest and that was our territory. But as you can suppose, we didn't have lots of options.
So rich people here in the late 1800s into the early 1900s. It's a little sewing machine.
Really, Singer sewing machine.
And those are heavy irons. It's a 1920s kitchen.
First Yugoslavia from 1918 till 1945, and second Yugoslavia from 1945 till the 90s. And what's the difference? Well, first Yugoslavia was a monarchy. You know, we had king. King was from Serbian royal dynasty Karađorđević. That's the main difference. And second Yugoslavia was a communist country. That's the biggest difference.
The century known as the century of war and blood. What a shame. 1991 was the first time Croatia became an independent country. Always before they were ruled by someone else and in federations.
And making of new Yugoslavia, you can see Marshal Tito, and he was young. Tito was leader of this partisan resistance movement. I said that he was a communist. He was Croat. He was born in the place very close to Zagreb. Zagreb is capital of Croatia. And people still, when they talk about Tito, they definitely talk with certain nostalgia. Croatia has a very unusual shape. It looks like dragon with open wing. Can you see that? This is head, this is tail, and this is wing. We are now in the wing part. So this is, you cannot see on the map, but this is where Ilok is, where we are, and we are going to finish the tour right here in Vukovar. So this part is agricultural part of the country. And the wing part is also the biggest part. You can see the most of the population live here, because capital is here, Zagreb. Zagreb has 1 million, the biggest town and the capital. Then the tail is the famous Dalmatia region. Most of you visited Split. Split is the second biggest city in the country and also the biggest port for transporting passengers. The most famous city is Dubrovnik, and it's a famous set for shooting films. Dalmatia region is a Mediterranean part of Croatia, the most popular part for vacations. Climate there is like in Italy or in Greece. We have olive trees, we make excellent olive oil, we make there very good red wine. And we have also lots of islands, more than 1,000 islands. Also Dalmatia region is known because of the cute white dogs with black spots. Dalmatian dog. So the breed got the name after Dalmatia region in Croatia.
I just found my husband. He couldn't take the heat in here. He missed all the interesting history. Over here we have Croatia. There's the Danube, and there's Serbia, just on the other side of the river. This is a winery we're visiting. Here's a tasting room. This is 100 meters long. Ilok wine cellars.
250 workers.
This is a library that goes back to the 1940s. Some of this wine survived the Serbian occupation because one winery worker put some of the best bottles back here and then walled it off, just like the French did before the Germans got to Bordeaux. Clever.
The last bus go back to my hometown in the midnights. So lots of the people, actually, especially younger people, decide that they are going to spend night here. So they sleep in vineyards. This part of the Croatia is quite isolated, remoted. This is the easternmost point in Croatia, and lots of the people, and small areas, so lots of the people who live here are retired people. Or my Grgic was because he's not alive anymore. I think he died 2020.
No,
No?
I don't think so.
Well, someone told me he was like in his 90s.
Yeah,
and that
in his
2020. Yes, but he's a famous Croatian winemaker who was born in Dalmatia region. A role in tracing California Zinfandel, famous red wine in California. In fact, after 30 years of discussions, DNA research confirmed that Zinfandel is identical to Italy's Primitivo, which arrived in Italy via Croatia. Californian Zinfandel and Croatian wine from the Dalmatia region, they have the same DNA.
Vineyards are not netted, but the orchards are. We'll see if we see another netted orchard like in France.
City was completely destroyed. I mentioned in the museum what happened, that inhabitants were fighting back. They didn't want to give up the town, and then after 3 months of struggles, city was finally occupied. Some people were in the hospital on the day of the occupation, and unfortunately they lost their lives. But that sacrifice helped us in a way that we got recognition and support from the other parts of the world. Right side structure, which represents a water tower, and it was built 1960s to supply city with water. And the Croatian flag was standing on the top of the building. Croatian flag looks like this. It is tricolor, red, white and blue, and each color symbolizes something. You can see red, blood, white, peace, and blue, our sea, Adriatic Sea. And in the middle there is coat of arms. The flag was standing on the top of the building, and Serbs saw Croatian flag as provocation. So they tried to destroy building. And because of that, it has holes, different size. From grenades, from shrapnel, from bullet holes. And we decided intentionally not to rebuild that building, because we want this to be a warning and also for a memory. We want to our guests to be able to learn about the war, learn about the things that happened here, and it's a warning that something like that should never happen again. The biggest problem is that in this town there is a segregation between the kids in elementary and high school level. So Serbian and Croatian kids go in the same schools but separate classrooms.
Oh, wow.
And segregation exists only in this town. In other cities in Croatia, no longer, but in this town, yes.
Well, we're in Vukovar, where these tombstones are memorializing the recent war between Croatia and Serbia. They're either leaning over or rising up. according to our tour guide.